Hi guys, this is Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and today's video is part of a hop for TaylorMade Cards for You. This is our December design team hop, and we got to pick out some fun images off of the TaylorMade Cards for You website that were all Christmas themed. I've got quite a few of her images already, but I did pick out a few that I did not already have in my stash. This one is from the ATC shopping cards download, and then I also got some from the Christmas carols. Now I've got a couple of ideas with this, including doing an attempt of foiling on vellum to see how that one turns out. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've had my laminator, my Crenova Laminator, heating up for a bit, but I still don't know if it's quite hot enough. Now, vellum is kind of a plastic paper, so I don't really want to take a chance on the laminator not being hot enough to foil, because I don't want to really run it through too many times for just a chance that I'm going to wind up warping or melting some of that. So I'm going to start off with just doing it on some that I've already printed out on some white cardstock. Now this cardstock is just regular Nina cardstock, and I ran this through my laser printer to get the black printing. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through. I'm using, for my carrier sheet, I'm going to use this piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to go ahead and brush these off. Now it's been probably about 2 weeks since I printed everything out, and I have not had a chance to get it all done, so it's possible everything is a little bit dusty. You do want to go ahead and brush those off just in case, even if you just printed it out, because you don't know, you might have a little bit of toner somewhere that you're not expecting. So let's go ahead and give this one a try. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick glance and see if it looks like this is done. Most of the time with my laminator, I run it through twice. I can see that something did adhere, so that is good. And let's take a little quick peek. And it does look like it does get some of the letters, so that is good. And the letters are pretty small, which is one reason why I can't really differentiate it on here. But I am going to go ahead and run it through again, just to be on the safe side. And this specific laminator has got a hot and cold setting. I'm not real sure what the cold setting's for, unless you're using like a kind of a sticker laminate and it's just wanting to apply the pressure like what you'd use your die cutting machine for. I've never used it on this one. I always use the hot setting, and it has worked pretty well. My issue with doing this type of foiling has always been that I just don't get quite enough toner down on my card, and I think I've got that resolved. The images do look pretty good, and you can see that pretty well, so I'm hoping for some good results. Okay. So I'm going to let that cool for just a second. Give everything a chance to kind of stick down, because what this actually does is it heats up the toner, and the toner acts as our adhesive to adhere all this pretty foil down. And it does look really nice. Look at that pretty shine. So if I tilt it in the light, you can definitely see all the shine, and laying it flat, you can see all the letters. It doesn't look like I've got any underfoiling anywhere, which tells me that it looks like I did get my issue fixed with my printer. Awesome. And then this piece can be used as a secondary. You can basically foil with this one again as well, and I do love all that music. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it with my vellum. Okay, so let's take a look at this one that is on the vellum. You can see the vellum printing through the back. And I can tell that it looks like things have done well on there. I can see the printing through there. And this is a little bit warped now. It is a little bit curved. So I think what I'm going to do, before I get started with anything else, I am going to put it back into my carrier sheet and turn it upside down. So it's basically going to put pressure the opposite direction and hopefully level that out and add just enough additional heat to take care of that. Again, I don't want to put it through too many times through my Crenova Laminator because I don't want to warp it too bad, but I'm hoping that this will help flatten it out. If not, I can always run it through my die cutting machine without any dies to be able to kind of flatten that out nicely. Okay, it's still warped, but I'm going to leave it as is. Let's take a look and see how the foil turned out. Oh, that is so pretty. You can see all of that glimmery, shimmery goodness. And this is just some plain gold foil that I don't even know where I got it from, so it's not necessarily the best quality. I know it's not Deco foil, but I don't recall where I got this pack from. I just want to use it up. So you can see that even better when I put it over the carrier sheet. So that is just too pretty. Okay, so next I need to start putting together a couple of cards. I do really love this vellum, and that I think is going to make a really pretty overlay. So I'm also going to try doing something with some of that waste, and I thought it would be really pretty to put some of those musical notes on the front with a card base. I'll go direct foil, which I don't usually do. I always do everything with a card panel and then adhere it down. So I thought, well, let's give this a try and see how that one does. So I'm taping off the front there. And the reason for that is that I'm also going to be adding some double-sided adhesive to the front to be able to put our foil down onto. I'm just peeling it back part of the way. Then I'm going to line it right up with that edge. Actually, I'm going to have a little bit over on both sides. Then I'm going to pick this up so it doesn't stick too badly to my desk. Okay, here we go. And the reason for the tape is just so that I don't get any of the foil on the back of my card. Now I'm going to trim off the excess here. Actually, I'm going to do this with my paper trimmer because otherwise I am liable to get this a little bit off. And I don't really want to do that. I do know that that should be right at 4 1/4 because this is an A2 size card base. Let me flip it over. So that's going to be at 4 1/4. And this part will be at 5 1/2, and I can line it up right with I can line the blade up right with the edge of my cardstock. There we go. And it does look like I've got a little bit extra, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that off too. If you do it this way, you will want to go back and clean your blade later because now you've got sticky from this little bit of excess on your blade. And I'm going to do the same thing on this end because I did have it just a touch over. Okay, here we go. So now the adhesive is covering the front of my card base. So to use the excess foil, and let me grab one of those. Because this is regular toner foil, you need something for it to adhere to. I'm wanting to make sure that I have the words "Deck the Halls" showing. So now I'm going to peel this back. And I tend to have issues with the release paper anyway. So I'm going to peel back some of it and just fold that down. And then I can position my foil where I want it. Okay? So I want all of the notes to show. It's good. They're going to be in red, and I want it kind of sort of lined up straight. So I'm going to put it right about there. And all of that would show a lot better if it was on some Oh, and now I've got it a little bit, yeah, I'm not going to be able to straighten that out. Once you touch it down to the adhesive, it is stuck. So I've got a little bit wrinkled, but that's okay. I'm going to be putting something else over the top of this. This is basically my background. So this is going to work better. Having a scraper to push the foil down is going to definitely be a big help. So that way you can make sure you get everything straight without having any of your foil fall back on itself like what I did. Okay. Let's go ahead and burnish that down a little bit more, not a lot, because we do want shiny foil, and I'm going to go ahead and peel some of that off. Now here's the thing, because I use double-sided tape or double-sided adhesive, it is going to, the carrier sheet, this plastic is going to try to stick on all of those open spots. So you just have to be careful when you're pulling it back not to rip off any of the other foil that you want to stay, or to rip any pieces of the cardstock because you're trying to pull off that adhesive. Okay. And you can see it's basically took all of that off of there. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got a panel that has some sticky bits showing through because of all of that. Now there's a couple of things that you can do. You can do a different color foil, or you can do what I'm gonna do, because I kind of want to keep the white. Actually, you could also do glitter, and I don't think I have any glitter. Do I have any glitter here at my desk? So what I was thinking I was going to do is just use some anti-static powder, but I could use some glitter in there. And I think, yes, I do. I do have some white glitter, so I'm going to use some white glitter in that spot. Stop recording. Okay, so I've got a little plastic bin here because I want it to catch all of that glitter. And this is going to basically stick to all of the places that have got any exposed adhesive. For instance, even where I've got foil, if the foil isn't covering completely. Okay, and I need to grab a brush, but not this brush. This is the brush that I use to make sure that I get everything dusted off. I do not want to have any glitter stuck in this when I'm doing any of my foiling. So I'm just going to grab a random brush that I have that I use for other things and go ahead and brush that off. And I do see some red still showing, so I'm sure that there is adhesive there, so I'm going to put some more glitter there. Okay. And that is kind of interesting. It's a very distressed look, and that is fine because I am going to be putting some vintage pieces on top of this. So this is just the background. So I went ahead and trimmed out some of the ATC cards, and I'm going to go ahead and add some double-sided adhesive, some foam tape to the back of one of these, and that's going to be my focal image on this first card. Okay, so this one just says Santa. I think that is going to be super cute. So I'm going to go ahead and removing the release paper off of the back. And then I'm going to try to center that best I can on here. So we're going to have that a pretty gold and foil background on the back of this one, and this I think is perfect for the first. That's all I'm going to do to this card. I am going to add an insert on the inside for writing a personal message, and that is going to be super cute and finishes up the first card. For the next one, I have a green card base, And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and add one of my panels that is in this real pretty vellum foil. And could do kind of the same kind of thing, but I think I am going to maybe put it off to the side a little bit. Now when it comes to adding vellum down, it's a little tricky, but I think what I'm going to do this time is kind of the same thing that I did with the first, and that is use some double-sided adhesive for the entire back, because I've got the sheets and I never use them, so this is a good opportunity to do that and still hide the adhesive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim my panel down so that it's going to fit on my card the way I want it to. But in order to do that and get it to the edges, I'm going to have to lay the card base down in my paper trimmer as well. So let's go ahead and see what kind of an angle. I think I will like it about right there. And this is also a good reason to use some of that purple tape that I had just put off to the side. I just thought of that. That is a good use of it. So I'm going to add a little bit to the back of my card base. Then I can press this into place the way I want it, and it will be lined up on my card. That looks great. Okay, I'm going to also do some more with this extra piece that I've got all twisted up, and yeah, anyhow. Put that off to the side again, and I'll use this one down near the bottom. I'll just adhere it to the bottom of my card, and now I can cut this right on the line that is my card base. Just sliding that in and sliding the edge of the card base right up against the edge of the blade. Make sure everything is lined up so that I'm only cutting the vellum. Okay, and this one I can line up with the edge here, my border there, and with the bottom. And this one I think I am going to cut a little bit off the edge and then just trim off the excess if I need to. And that is going to make it so that it has a cleaner... Well, it would. Now I cut off where I was holding it together at the bottom, which I knew was going to happen, but I just kind of forgot at that moment. Okay, let's slide that back in there, line it right up close to the edge of my panel here, of my paper trimmer. Okay, I'm going to say that that is going to be pretty close. I'm going to flip this one over and trim the top, and again, making sure that it's not quite... I don't want to cut the top of my card base off. Okay, so I'm going to say that that is going to be about where I want it. And now I'm going to take off this purple tape that I don't need anymore. And sometimes when you're removing the tape, it does take off a layer of your card. So I did rip a little bit there, but that just means I'm going to use the back as the front instead this time. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to add some double-sided adhesive with that adhesive sheet onto the back of my card. Onto the side that I already ripped a little tiny layer of the card off. And this, you do want to be really careful, make sure you get it right lined up, otherwise you will not be covering the entire card like you want. Okay, here we go. Burnish that all down. Okay, and I'm going to be very, very careful this time so that I don't get anything laying where I don't want it. Now first I need to make sure which side is up. This is the top of my card, so that's good. And I'm going to go ahead and lay down the rest of it about where I think I want it. I'm going to lay it so I can trim off the bottom, because I did have it a little bit long. And now I can lay this down, line it right up with that corner there. And then I can pull this back, and I'm going to use my scraper again to make sure that I get everything burnished down well. And the foil should not come off. I do want to try to make sure I get rid of any kind of air bubbles, because that's just going to show you where the adhesive is a little bit. And it does look like I've got a little bit of an air bubble there, and it is not coming off. So you do want to be really careful not to get any air bubbles as you're placing this down. Okay, and now I can see that I did have it a little bit crooked. This top line was a little bit crooked because I do have a little bit over here of some adhesive showing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the excess, some of the waste, and I'm just going to add a little bit of foil right along that edge. It's going to stick right to the adhesive and add a little accent on the side. And then running my finger along, I really don't feel too much of excess. I do feel a little bit across the top, so I'm going to cover that with some gold foil too. And then we can trim off the excess with our scissors. I went ahead and trimmed out the rest of these, and I decided I really like Santa. I'm sorry, I just think it looks so cool on that foil music background. That's the one I like the best. So there were two different images in that ATC set. So I am putting foam, just like I did on the other one, on the back of this Santa. And if you resized them, you could use just the image of Santa or one of these images as your entire card front. Either way works. I'm using actually the original size that's included in the set, but you can resize all of these lovely images. I'm going to go ahead and put this one down onto my card. And this time I think I might go at a little bit of an angle. I think I like the angle actually being a little bit further to the right. So I'll put that one there under where it says Deck the Halls. And I think that is super cute. So now I'm going to try something different. I've already got two cards done using those pretty papers. So this time I'm going to do a different style. So I've got an A2 size top folding card base here, and I am going to trim a bit of it off. I think I'm going to do about an inch. So this part this is going to be I'll do 1.25 inches. Yeah, so I'm cutting it down the front 4 1/4. So I'm cutting off 1.25 inches off of the end, and then I think I'm going to go all the way to the top here. So I've got 1.25 inches. Make sure it's the same. Yes, 1.25 inches from the top. So now I've basically got a card base with a flap, card front with a flap. Actually, that's going to be the card back, and then I am looking for things. I had gone ahead and done a second one of that pretty vellum. So I'm going to use vellum for this one as well. And I need to trim this one down to fit on the front of an A2 size card base. I'm going to trim it pretty much right at the edge of where the music is. Just like I did this one. Actually, I'm going to tape it onto the back, and then I can trim some of the sides with it taped in place, and then I can trim the last one. So, adding a little bit of tape to the back of my already pre-cut down panel, and it's pre-cut down to about 4 by 5 1/4. So it would leave a white border around the edges. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to leave it as that, but that's okay. And I'm going to line this up right over the top so that everything matches. And of course, my tape is trying to stick to my desk. So that is all lined up. And now I know kind of where I want to cut everything, right? So for this one, instead of cutting it all the way down to the 4, I'm going to do a little bit longer on the edge and give it to... Actually, this one just got enough white space. Now, I'm going to make it match. I am going to make it completely match, except I was about to cut through my tape. I don't want to cut through my tape. So instead, let's go to the bottom and line everything up there. And I need to remember, like I did last time, I need to cut a little bit further down and then do the final cuts with my scissors so that the edges look better. Now I can trim this last bit off, and it's still going to be matchy-matchy the way I want. And to ensure that, I'm going to tape the other side so everything matches, and then I'll cut the top and the bottom. And I don't know about you, but I always find it easier to cut from the back. Okay. So now those two panels are basically identical, other than one of them is vellum and one of them is cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I am going to adhere this on the inside of this flap. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use some liquid adhesive for that. Just adding liquid adhesive all over this flap here. Then I can line up my card, my vellum panel where I want it. Try to keep it about the same distance on each side from the edges since it's a little bit smaller. And then press that down to hold on to the vellum. And I also made sure that I did not press it all the way down onto the card because I didn't want to take the chance of this piece sticking to my card. And now I'm going to use one of the scraps that I had. I'm going to trim it just a little bit, and I'm going to put that on the inside. So now that vellum piece is going to be sandwiched between two pieces of cardstock. And I think I'm just going to trim it down about 1/8, and that's going to give me just a little bit of extra space for that fold. Go ahead and add my liquid adhesive to the back of this one. One reason I'm using liquid adhesive is just to make sure that it's got a lot of strength. And I can line this up right on the inside. And there we go. Now you're going to think that looks a little bit odd, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this piece. I want to have this going over the top, basically being the front side of this piece there. And so what I need to cut off, I'm going to cut a little bit extra, I think, just to be on the safe side. That way I can line it up exactly where I want it. And since I can tell what the image looks like there, I have an idea of where this one needs to be cut too. So we're going to go in between, and we're right at that third line of the song. So I'm going to cut just below the third line. And then I can line this one up with the music on the front. I think that's going to be kind of cool. Go ahead and add some liquid adhesive to this one. And then line it up so that it does overlap that last line just a little bit. So it's going to come down a little bit further than our tab there. Okay. So that is the top of it. So this is basically going to be a see-through card. And I'm debating. I don't think I want to have one of the images on the inside, but I could have it on the outside. Okay, so that's going to be kind of cool. Now I'm going to do the same kind of thing down at the bottom, but I'm going to cut a piece of this part down from there. So I'm going to cut off about 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches, I think, from the bottom to adhere onto that vellum on the front. And this piece of the panel was a little bit short. So the front is actually right now a little bit short, which means I'm going to put another piece that's going to go a little bit further down on the back, which I needed to cover anyway. So let me go ahead and put liquid adhesive on the back of this piece. And then line it up with my sheet music. There we go. And now I need a piece of cardstock to go across the bottom. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just adhere this down, and then I can trim it so that it matches what I need it to match. Okay, and now I can use my paper trimmer to trim it down to exactly where I need it. And then I think I'm going to put one of my pretty Christmas scenes on the front there. So let's see, which one do I want to go with? We've got 3 shopping, and we've got shopping and Santa. I think I want to go with the shopping and Santa. I'm going to place that right in the center there. And then on the inside, I'm going to place one of these other images. And that's going to be covering up where that other piece of cardstock was. This one's a little bit short, so I think I'm going to do this one instead. And I want to go this way so that when they open it up, it actually looks straight. It looks right side up when they open it. I do like the way that that looks. Kind of as an afterthought for those, especially for those 2 cards that have got the solid colored card base, I decided I wanted to use another one of Monica's digital downloads, and this one is called Christmas Time Sentiments. There's 4 pretty sentiments here. And each of these, it comes a sheet, so you can cut all of these out, and you can of course resize them like everything else in her shop. But I thought these, while they would look really great on the front of a card, for instance, with the gold in the backing, they also would work really great as the inside. So that's what I'm going to do with these. So I've already cut these down, and this again is the original size. And since her images have got the rounded corners, I thought, you know, I think I'm going to go ahead and do something I never do and get out my Crocodile and round the corners of these as well, and have it with rounded corners on the inside of my card for the sentiments. It also has enough space on here that you can still write a personal message. Of course, a lot of times at Christmas time, we tend to write long notes that go inside our cards too. And that doesn't necessarily have to be on the card itself. I have done them where I just include a note, a handwritten or typewritten note, depending on how many of them I need to do, inside my card in addition. And that didn't trim as well as I wanted, so since it didn't do right, I'm just going to use my scissors to finish it up. So I will save these other 2 for another time, and can go ahead and use these for inside these 2 cards. And I think I want to go this one and this one, so let me go ahead and just get my dot liner adhesive to adhere those down. This part is not, I don't feel like this is as important to get really well stuck down, although my dot liner adhesive works fabulously. I just didn't want to use some more liquid glue on the card. So to make sure that it's lined up perfectly on the inside, you just line it up adhesive side up with where you want it to kind of fit, but do it on the other side. And then just close your card base. And now your sentiment is perfectly placed right where you wanted it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, using my dot liner adhesive. Place it image side facing the card, and want to make sure it's right side up. So I want it this way, so it's going to go here. Place it right there in the center where I want it, and then I can just close the card. And it will be right where I want it on the other side. So that is going to finish up those cards. This one, if I were to add that, it would add a little bit of color behind my vellum that I don't really want. I want it to be that see-through look, and love the way that this one turned out. So that is going to finish up my project for TaylorMade Cards for You and this hop. Be sure to check out the rest of the hoppers in the hop, because I know they'll have a lot of inspirational projects for you to see. I'll also have a playlist over here so that you can see some more projects that I've created using TaylorMade Cards for You projects. Plus, all the links to everything that I used today are going to be down in the description below. You guys have a wonderful day. Happy holidays. And remember, if I can make it, you can too. Have a great day.